Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam. Alright.
Hello and welcome to the FTN Podcast. It's been a little bit since we've seen everyone, but we're getting closer to the season. And we had a bevy of trades today. There's actually quite a bit to talk about, given we haven't done too many podcasts. Always, we got 12 league members. It's always good to shuffle people and get their thoughts throughout the off season. But I just got to start with this. Are you allowed to wear that hat after you jettisoned a Cubs player today from your roster unceremoniously?
When we anoint someone into the Kevin McGonigal FTN trade Hall of Fame, it would be disrespectful to not, give him some props. We wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be recording here today if Shota Imanaga didn't have a 99th percentile BABIP and it stranded all of his runners and throws 90. So it's the least I could do to show him a little bit of respect for a couple great years.
Yeah. Plenty to talk about with Shota. Plenty to talk about so many players. We have no less than, I'm going to say, at least 20 players and prospects that were on the move today. Probably won't talk about everyone. I don't know where to start. How about this? I'm gonna start with you, Adam, and then I'm gonna move to Graydon. I'm just gonna ask, how do you feel about your team's position today after your trades versus how you felt before? Just give us a quick minute rundown on how these trades affect your team.
I feel fine, same as I did. I kind of feel bad. I was sort of like I wouldn't say like a move on the margins, but compared to everything else that happened today, like easily the most boring trade that sort of went down. And so, going into today, I thought that this was like a fun move I could make, and I could make myself a little bit better in the meantime. Been looking for speed for a long time. Now, will my entire offseason strategy need to change again now that, the entire shape of the league is different? I think some reevaluation might need to happen, but, I feel good. I felt good going in. Feel good now.
Drew, I think you're muted.
Sorry, I was trying to share my screen, so as we're talking, people can see the trades that we're talking about. But yeah, Graydon, walk us through, how do you feel about your trades overall today? I think you maybe led the league in total trades with 3 or 4.
I think 3, yeah. I certainly feel better about my team now than I did when I woke up this morning. I don't know if that means anything. I feel like my team is in a similar position to how I felt about it the previous 2 years, where I felt like my team was the best in Division 3, but as we've seen for the past 2 years, that hasn't meant a thing. I feel like I sort of viewed Grayrod as just kind of like a whatever piece, but I'm like a little bit worried that he goes to Jacob and like puts it all together for like a healthy year and is like a top 25 pitcher this year. That's like my main worry. But I think the injury risk was baked into his price. But yeah, I feel better about my team. But as we've seen for the last 2 years, that doesn't necessarily mean anything when you have a god tier manager like Jacob in your division.
I can't believe you just talked for a minute about your trades today, and the only guy you mentioned was Grayrod. You traded for Jose Ramirez today.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we'll get into that later. But just real quick, like PCA, for example, like I feel like no matter what, he's just going to be like hot and cold. Like I don't necessarily like envision him putting it together for 162 games and just like making me like crazy regret that trade. But I feel like I do potentially envision Greyrod putting it together for a whole season and being like, fuck, I really could use that pitcher right now come August. So that's why I talked about him and not so much the bigger one, which I feel like I'm sure we'll get into later.
I was about to say, we should just bury the lead and not talk about that trade the entire time.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Before I lose track of it, I just got a text from an anonymous FTN owner. It's not the one you're all thinking of. It's somebody else because it's now public information that we're doing the podcast as it was posted in the group me. This manager wants to know, can you ask the panel why Vinny is the worst manager in the league?
Wow, Vinny, I can't believe you submitted that question.
Let's start with you, Adam.
I mean, going into today, I wouldn't have said he's the worst manager in the league. I still wouldn't necessarily say he's the worst manager in the league. I wouldn't say that one move totally like invalidates, an entire long-term strategy. But, it certainly seems like a less cohesive long-term plan than I think we all thought it was. I think we all thought it was like a pretty clear, just like tear down, trade anything, and get a whole bunch of prospects and bam, and turning away two top. I mean, I don't know where Lombard is now, but probably 50 on some lists. And Schultz, who's top 50 for. I think I called Mitch Keller the equivalent of like a pitching slot bowl. And like Kerry Carpenter plays in 120 games, like it just didn't make a ton of sense. But I don't know. Give the fans something to come
I was
watch.
very confused, and I texted him because I was just like, I'm interested in his reasoning, and he basically just said that he said it's a retool, not a rebuild, and
Oh boy.
and I think maybe he doesn't totally believe in Schultz and Lombard, which is interesting because he traded a lot to get both of those. But yeah, it was pretty interesting given some of it seemed like he was clearly just like stacking the farm and preparing for a rebuild. But maybe not. Maybe he's just retooling.
I like shudder to think at what like a real package of Noah Schultz and George Lombard would get you in terms of like a pitcher. Like I would have traded, not saying, again, I don't think Shota's particularly good, but I would have traded Shota in a heartbeat for Schultz and Lombard, especially if it's plus. I would have, I think you can probably pretty easily get into like the top 30 or so guys, depending on, each owner's individual preference. If you're like saying like, I want to retool, I want to get rid of some of these guys I don't like give me a pitcher. And I'm just writing off Kerry Carpenter, but that's just what I'm going to do this whole time.
Well, it's also just interesting that this was like a preseason move because, it's entirely possible that. We know Vinny's first 4 games are against like the top of FTN, so I don't know. Like it's possible 2 months in that he just literally doesn't stand a chance, and like at the same time he could have maybe Schultz and Lombard come out of the gates hot. He could have just waited a little bit for maybe for Schultz to build back some value, or could have determined if this move was necessary like a month or 2 into the season. So it's kind of interesting that this happens preseason, especially when he's like fairly strong at pitching for not having a good roster.
Totally.
Given that he has like Ranger and Yesavage or Yesavage, I don't know how you say it, Schlittler and
Got
Garrett Cole
coming
and
back,
those guys. Yeah, so.
Just a note, was Mitch Keller the second youngest non-prospect pitcher traded today? Because he's younger than Sonny Gray. He's younger than Sandy.
He's definitely not younger than Greyrod.
He's not younger than Joe Ryan.
No, hold on. He's younger than Shota. He's older than Greyrod, who I think was the youngest. He's the same age as Joe Ryan. They're a month apart.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is Mitch Keller young and spry, or is Joe Ryan old?
I think a little bit of both.
Wow.
But just noting, it's not like Mitch Keller is some over-the-hill pitcher. I think a lot of people are waiting for him to be traded away from the Pirates. He seems like a prime change of scenery candidate. Now, I wouldn't bet 2 top 100 prospects and bam on that outcome. But there's some shine on Mitch Keller, and he's a rosterable asset in FTN, and he's not over the age of 30. You know, he's right in that Joe Ryan range in terms of age, and Kerry Carpenter is younger than both. So, like, do you believe in Kerry Bonds? That's a question that Vinny's clearly come to terms with, but just noting the age here, it's not like Vinny is trading for over the hill, you know, over 30-year-old, over 33-year-old guys. I mean, they're useful assets.
Whatever you say.
All right.
Yeah, I guess it's just a question of what's going to help his team more, like Kerry Carpenter or Mitch Keller, or like Noah Schultz maybe becoming really good and George Lombard breaking out. I feel like if you're hitting Vinny, you kind of just got to, like, given what he's done this far, you sort of got to bank on the prospects, it seems like.
Well, maybe this is a great transition into my next question I want to ask you guys, which is the conference to wild card race, because JD's going to win his division and somebody's going to come out on top of Division 3. Is Vinny in the discussion for a potential wild card?
No, not at all.
Not to make this a boring segment.
Is Ben a wild card?
Yes. He's in the discussion for sure.
I don't buy that Ben is significantly better than Vinny, and would say if Ben's in the conversation, then Vinny is too, especially after trading away Brent Rooker today, and the best piece he's getting back is Shota, which doesn't really help in my opinion, given he's pretty much already forfeiting every pitching category anyway this season. So I don't know if you guys have any further thoughts on that.
Well, we talked about that. We talked about that with Ben earlier today over text. It sounds like maybe his plan is potentially to sort of dangle Shota as an asset when pitcher injuries happen, which I think is like a fine plan. But I guess it just, like you said, yeah, he lost Rooker and he's like getting Bam to conceivably bid on DSL guys and then banking on Spencer Jones and Khalil Watson, which apparently, according to Ben, that you have to be like out of your mind if you think that there's any holes in those guys' prospect profiles. So, yeah, interesting strategy. But I just feel like, yeah, obviously Ben is missing the pitching, but he does have like decent relievers that can get some save holds, and maybe he can sneak out some ratios. And losing Rooker hurts, but his offense is still like pretty decent. I don't know. I think he's in consideration, but I think Vinny is. I sort of feel like there's no way.
I sort of think that Ben is getting a little bit too much credit for the like absolute God mode run that Juan Soto went on for like the last 2 months last year, where he like single-handedly carried his team and was like a legitimately like scary like overall team in FTN, not even just like consolation team. Or below average team or wildcard team. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to play him. But like looking at, you know, who's actually there on paper, if Juan Soto is going to be like Juan Soto day to day and not like Jesus Christ, like it's like really not that too impressive. He's not particularly like, he's fast. That's sort of all it is. I mean, you're rostering Chandler Simpson, but like he has an okay amount of pop between like Soto and Shea and, you know, Pasquantino to like some extent, Ben Rice when he plays, but like he has so many like legitimate duds on the roster fantasy wise. Like Keishel is not a counting stat guy. He's an OBP guy, but his team's terrible in OBP. Matt Wallner is theoretically playing. He's a dud. Like Caleb Durbin is a dud. Jacob Wilson is a fantasy dud. Like he's just weaker than I think, you know, we remember him being.
Wallner picked up today. Maybe just another hypothetical on this point on the offense. I mean, I get that Vinny doesn't have Juan Soto, but if I'm looking at Vinny's like top 3 on offense, like for this year, the guys that are carrying him, like if Vinny has a good season, I'm expecting a huge breakout from Jack Caglianone. So I'm talking Michael Bush, Jackson Merrill, Jack Caglianone. Is that significantly worse just because he doesn't have Soto? Because if you look at the top 3 after Soto for Ben, it's Pasquantino, Langelier, Stowers, and CJ Abrams. Like, I would take Bush, Merrill, and Caglianone over any of those 3 non-Soto guys. And then we talked about how Vinny has a lot of starting pitching depth, actually. Got better with the Keller trade. I get Ben's bullpen, but there's no reason anyone in FTN can't develop a good bullpen quickly if they really want to.
I mean, the projections hate Vinny's team. And, projections are kind of whatever, but the projections hate Vinny's team. I want to ask you a question. Adam said just now that Jacob Wilson is a, quote, dud. Do you agree with that? You and Ben, I think, have actually used, quote, superstar to describe Jacob Wilson. How do you feel about Adam calling him a dud? Do you disagree?
Last year, Jacob Wilson had a couple of minor injuries that maybe cost him 20 games. I'm going to consider that a mostly full, almost entirely full Jacob Wilson season. And that felt like it went as well as it possibly could have. He hit 12 home runs, I think, which kind of feels like his ceiling. And that puts those 12 home runs and just missing 20 games, but otherwise was really fantastic. Landed him at shortstop 25 on the season. Behind Zach Winfrey and J.P. Crawford.
That's so bad.
Jacob Wilson fits very certain teams, kind of like maybe Luis Arias. I think if I'm Adam and I have a choice between trading an actual asset for Justin Crawford, sorry, not Justin Crawford, who's the shortstop? Jet Williams. An actual asset for Jet Williams or getting Jacob Wilson, I'd prefer to have Jacob Wilson. The problem is Ben's not going to sell Jacob Wilson for cheap, but he maybe should. And then a team like Adam is in a better position to utilize Jacob Wilson than I think Ben is. I guess that's my thought on it. I didn't consider Jacob Wilson to be a relevant fantasy player for Ben.
Yeah, it is. I like, just now that I'm looking at it, he does have a lot of like the Luke Keeschel, Caleb Durbin, Jacob Wilson, Nolan Shanwell, Alejandro Kirk, although maybe Alejandro Kirk doesn't play, Chandler Simpson. It's like, it's sort of tough to make a living having like 5 guys in your starting roster who are projected for like 10 to 13 home runs. Obviously, he has Soto and Langoliers and whatnot, but that probably is and should be a concern for him. But I just thought that was interesting because I know that Jacob Wilson he's gotten a lot of hype in the GroupMe, like last year especially, because I've been like a Jacob Wilson hater, I feel like, and I've sort of felt like maybe I was on that was a hot take. But it seems like maybe people are coming around to that he's just like a slightly better version of Arias. You're right in that like he doesn't fit this team perfectly. Excuse me. I have the flu, so I have a cough right now. You're right that he doesn't fit the team perfectly just because there's a lot of other like low power guys, but he like does need the like OBP solidification that Wilson provides, because he's got guys like CJ Abrams and whatnot. I mean, now there is Soto in the lineup, so obviously that's going to help solidify OBP. But it's sort of irrelevant talking about because I feel like Jacob Wilson's never leaving this team.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much OBP help he actually provides. I guess it was a 355 OBP. He doesn't really walk. look, I think we've talked enough about Jacob Wilson. I think we all know what he is. He's got that youth. I think 12 home runs was. I thought people thought he'd get 5 last year and he might grow into 12 home runs. If he grows further into 15 or 18 home runs, he becomes really valuable, I think. And I think I believe now that any player can steal 20 bases. Like if Naylor and Soto can do what they did last year, I just simply believe any player is capable of it. So I'm never going to discount somebody like Jacob Wilson, who's going to bat at the top of the lineup and have opportunities to do it because he hits a lot of singles. To have 20 steal potential, I think he could do it. But last year felt like a peak Jacob Wilson year, and it was shortstop like 25 on the season. So welcome back, Adam. We lost you for a second.
I was about to say, did I just lag out of a podcast and load back in all in the middle of one Jacob Wilson monologue?
Indeed.
Incredible.
Let's see. I'm looking at some other questions submitted by the anonymous FTN owners. One of these I want to save for the last, but maybe let's pivot to this. We got the upcoming auction draft. Do you think any of the trades that were made today help clarify what some of the auction strategies are going to be? I guess right off the cuff, what I'm looking for in a response from you guys is I think JD has like a ridiculous amount of BAM, and Tatsuya Imai fits perfectly with like on his team. Like I think he's going for Imai. Does anything kind of clarify in your mind with regards from today's moves? I'll start with you, Graydon.
I mean, he can win Imai if he wants, but I don't know if I see. I mean, he has like Bubba Chandler. He's got other pitchers in the farm. He traded away Michael King. I know he's had discussions with me about another pitcher or two on his roster. It seems like he's trying to create some roster space. So I guess I don't expect JD to like, be super aggressive with Imai. Maybe he does it because he has so much BAM and he can push the price up. But I don't know. I sort of see JD as doing what he always does and keeping that BAM stockpile for the summer when it looks like this upcoming MLB draft has like a really good crop of college hitters, which I sort of envision JD taking advantage of, similar to how he did with Charlie Condon and that draft. Obviously, it clarified. I mean, now Ben has like over 50 BAM, so
Which
Ben's
is
probably going to be. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be at 3 or 4 after the auction draft. I expect Ben to be pretty active. Sean now has, after my trade with him, he's up to 149. Sean's kind of a wild card. I don't know what I see him doing in this auction draft, but it sort of clarified just that now there's like 3 or 4 teams that have 40 who probably aren't going to be too active, and then there's like 4 teams that have 100 or more. So you kind of know who's going to be able to end up with the guys they want.
Yeah, just looking at the farm system summary sheet to look at all these BAM numbers too. We got 4 people in the sheet right now. This is beautiful to see. I see a Mr. Perry Goldstein on here. Love to see that. Yeah, Adam, any takeaways from you with the trades today and the upcoming auction draft?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of echo your guys' thoughts in that, Imai is sort of like the obvious prize, but he's definitely lost some shine in the community over the last couple of weeks. I think everyone sort of coming in was like, he's like this top 2 or not, well, he's like an SP2 and like a top, 30, 40 guy. And I'm not really sure if everyone's sort of still there.
Did you see that real quick? Did you see that Taylor Trammell quote?
No.
He was like, I've been playing baseball for 25 years and Imai's splitter is the best pitch I've ever seen, which then it was just like 50 quote tweets that were just like shitting on Trammell and being like, well, that doesn't really mean anything. He struggles at hitting lots of pitches.
I was about to say,
I thought was funny.
Taylor Trammell has seen a lot of the best pitchers he's ever seen in his life.
Yeah,
he hasn't seen any pitchers at all. I think he's probably the best. He's just like a weird, and I can't decide whether we're being not like xenophobic, but like as a community being sort of scared of the unknown. Like he is sort of the Trey Savage, like backwards slider that like doesn't have glove side movement. And we haven't like seen a ton of guys with that sort of profile before. So it's really hard for, I think, folks to buy into like this like strikeout potential when like it feels very possible he could like fully struggle against like righties, which is not good. And then there's like he had some walk issues in the past. There's some injury stuff. He didn't pitch a ton. They might go to the Astros might go to a 6-man. Like there's just like a whole lot more variables, I think, now than, when he was like a big theoretical back in the day. I definitely don't think, I mean, some people are throwing out numbers that he was going to go for like 50, 60 BAM. I think he probably ends up in like the 25 range. I think if someone really wants to put 30 in, I think they get him. But I mean, it also depends on what like the big players are doing. Like if Jacob, if Sean, if JD, if Max. I mean, Max sitting here with 100 BAM, going after a guy coming over from Japan, like, maybe it does go up that high. But I think in any other environment, I think there actually aren't like a ton of really guys to go after here. It's Imai, it's Okamoto, and then being on a side quest for a bunch of 14-year-olds, and I think that's just sort of it.
I think a couple thoughts. Number one, just to say it, and then we can move past it. But like, somebody can go look it up. You can do your own reading about it. There's been plenty of articles published about Japanese pitchers when they come over, and I guess it probably applies for Korean pitchers too. Their first year in Major League Baseball is usually their best. It's the hitters in MLB having to deal with that unknown. They haven't seen them before. And then once people get that film on them after like a year, they get an off season to start preparing game plans for attacking those pitchers. Usually they regress just a little bit. Not saying like a ton, but like, I mean, Shota Imanaga could be the perfect case. Maybe his stuff decreased a bit, but like also there's just another year of film, which could very well explain the decrease as time's gone on in Shota, just to go back to him for a second. But generally agree with you. I do think, Adam, that Imai and Okamoto will be the two most expensive bids in the auction draft.
Yeah, I just don't think they'll necessarily be that expensive. I mean, I hate to come off sort of pessimistic on like a league excitement level, but I sort of think that everyone is just sort of loading up for the Rock Chalowski sweepstakes at this point in time. And I think, maybe there's probably 5 or 6 guys in this league that have him penciled in as their starting shortstop for the next 15 years. And, it's only possible for one of them. So, I mean, it's definitely a good college class. I think it's definitely a more exciting sort of like auction. It will be a more exciting auction experience than I think we'll experience, with this upcoming one. So I would be.
There should only be one person who has Rock penciled in, and that's JD. I've been loading up on Summer Bam, but it's mainly just so I can try to push JD to the limit, because I know that JD is going to want Rock. He's almost surely going to end up with him with how much BAM he has. But if anyone besides JD is expecting to win Rock, that seems sort of crazy to me.
Yeah, Drew. I mean,
given his coffers,
who's not JD, who's expecting to win Rock, must be crazy. I wonder who else could be expecting to win Rock. Care to comment?
There's been a revision to the Newt fully realized that may or may not
okay.
Chalowski as the shortstop.
Got it.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. A lot maybe depends on how this season goes. I always have assets that I can offload. I'm just, not to brag, not that it's a good thing, but I am the biggest trader in the league. I think I've made more trades than anyone else in league history. So I'm always there to strike a deal. I think if somebody's going to challenge for Chalowski, I don't know why it wouldn't be me. I can usually make it happen, so I get from Bam. I don't really want to talk about this team because they have been dead silent on getting back to anyone about trades. And at this point, just RIP, you're projected to be bad anyway. But I do expect Max to be in on Imai because you already mentioned the factors why, Adam, but beyond just his affinity for Japanese baseball players, he needs pitching and he has that BAM. And I don't know if we're still considering Astros players as controversial and how much that ties into people wanting to bid on players, but Imai is an Astro. People are tired of the Astros. It's not fun to root for the Astros and their players when you have them, and part of the fantasy baseball experience is having fun with it. Max doesn't care because he is rostering Emmanuel Clase. So
I forgot about that.
yeah, so I expect him to be in on Imai, very much so. Okamoto, sure. He probably needs to clear a offensive roster spot in the infield. If that's not a call for him to trade Altuve for like the 6th straight year, I don't know what is. Yeah.
Is Altuve outfield only now?
I think he might have lost that.
That might the time for trading him might have come and gone.
He still has it.
I don't know.
He
still has second base?
Yeah.
Okay. I think just to say quickly, I would be shocked if Imai goes for like 25 to 30. Like that might be what his value should be, but like there's so much BAM to play with, and like people look at it as like it's kind of a mystery box and it's a pitcher. Plus with the BAM Chise tag, like if he ends up being pretty good, like that's pretty valuable. And Okamoto's third base, which is a little bit of a sort of a nothing of a position right now, outside of like J Ram, Riley, Caminero. Like outside of that, it's sort of like there's no like third base prospects to speak of whatsoever. Now a bunch of shortstop guys will transition over, but it is like two pretty valuable positions for like FTN specifically, I think.
I assume everyone here would take of all the pitchers traded today, and including Imai, I believe everyone here would take Joe Ryan as the number one.
Yep.
Are you taking Imai number 2 over all the other guys we talked about? Shota, Mitch Keller, Gray Rod, Sandy. Like, where does Imai fit in compared to the pitchers we saw traded today?
I mean, he's younger, so that's a win. And it sort of depends on if you're doing rebuild or you're competing now. I think it's really hard to. I would much rather rely on Imaniga or Sandy if you're like a competing team this year and like you just sort of know what you're getting. I think is there's definitely like a lot of utility to that. But I think he's probably in that range, just sort of in terms of upside. I'd group them all fairly together. But I would take probably Imaniga, Sandy, and then Imai in that order.
You agree with that, Grady?
I think I'd probably maybe would rather bet on Sandy than Shota, just because Sandy's ceiling is a lot higher, even if I guess Sandy last year was fucking horrible, but like it's maybe like arguable that they have like similar floors if like the BABIP regression happens and maybe his velo stays down for Shota. So I would probably have it Sandy, Shota, and then Imai, and then G-Rod Keller, probably.
And apologies if we're forgetting any other pitcher names. I'm just quickly going through. The other guys are like prospects. PC.
Luis Morales.
Yeah, Luis Morales. Cade Smith, relief pitcher, right? Graydon, you paid a bunch.
Yeah.
Smith.
Relief pitcher, yeah.
Interesting. So let's go here for a second. We've talked a lot about Conference 2 at the beginning of the pod. How is the Conference 1 wild card race shaping up, Adam. Sean and me feel like the strongest contenders for a spot. I think people generally would consider Sean coming off a division winning season, but he's lost Pablo Lopez.
Yep.
He traded away Brash. He traded away Cade Smith. And did he make one other trade or lose one other guy recently? I don't.
Wheeler's out.
Wheeler's out. Like, where are we on Sean? And is he competing for a division again? Is he competing for a wild card? Is he alone in the wild card chase? Break it down.
I mean, his team is just good. He definitely has taken a lot of hits in the pitching department, absolutely. Specifically in his relievers, but he has 100,000 of them. He still has Hader. He still has Munoz. He still has Strom. He still has Armstrong. I mean, he traded away 2 top closers in the last 24 hours, or Brash in the closer, but 2 top relievers in the last 24 hours, and still probably has like a top 5-ish bullpen in the league. Like, that's just, it's Sean. He's taking advantage of his strengths. And I think the lineup is just good. I think these are moves he didn't necessarily have to make, but he could, and he gave himself, some more, a little bit of a hedge for the future. I still think he definitely has the edge in the race, in my opinion. I know you might have a different one, but that's sort of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I think it's also important, just real quick, to remember that, his roster is going to look worse when he trades away someone like Cade Smith, but that value isn't just it doesn't just disappear. He now has 149 BAM, which, he could use that tomorrow to go trade for, I don't know who's worth 150 BAM,
Ryan
Pepio,
probably.
Yeah, Pepio. He could use that tomorrow to go trade for Hunter Green, and then maybe we're thinking that, his rotation isn't so bad. I feel like Sean is still like Adam said, his team is just pretty good top to bottom. And it's pretty consistent production. I feel like that you can bank on with Freddie and Teoscar, and maybe Springer doesn't repeat last year, but still pretty consistent. And Arozarena and Mookie and Trey Turner and Jazz, is, even for all his flaws, and maybe he's the least consistent, but when he plays, it's pretty consistent. And Devers feels like that offense is going to be really good again. It's for him. It's just a question of how quickly does Wheeler come back, and how many innings does Kyle Bradish pitch, and is Kodai Senga just totally washed? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe Imai makes sense for Sean, just to get some some innings, because it seems like maybe that's what he could use, and he has a lot of BAM. And I don't know if I see like I said earlier, JD has a lot of pitchers. I don't know if I see him adding Imai, but maybe he does. But I feel like Sean is in a pretty good spot, and I definitely would preseason prefer him to Drew for the conference one wild card. I feel like Drew is firmly on the outside looking in on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about all these injuries that Sean had to his rotation, but then you look back at it, and it still is Yamamoto, Peralta, Bradish, Rasmussen, Robbie Ray. He still can go 5-on-5, 6-on-6 with pretty much anyone in the league. And there was a time last year before, I really feel like it was the Wheeler injury where he was number 1 in power rankings. He won that he won Division 2 last year. And he didn't.
And a lot of those hitters seem like they're going to be the same as they were last year.
I would now. I wouldn't love to see it because I'm in his division. But if I'm a fan of Sean and I'm rooting for Sean, he has 0 impact prospects this year. His best bet for a controllable pitcher this year is a Gabriel Hughes stream away from Coors Field. Tetsuya Imai feels like a great option for Sean given the influx of BAM. And I also know JD is looking to give away starting pitching to clear some spots. I think Sean would be wise to explore acquiring a controllable pitcher because the top teams in this league are utilizing those BAM-Chise tags to get extra roster spots to pump up their volume stats and get good streams. If you're going to compete with the top dogs, there's a little bit of that gaming of the strategy with the BAM-Chise tags, and Sean has 0 candidates to do that with this year. So I think Imai makes a lot of sense, or just using that BAM to get a pitcher or two that you can control during the year and pick up some extra stats, which may pick up a couple of extra wins in the win column this year. So I think that would be interesting for Sean to explore. Is Perry out of consideration as well for a wild card?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got to wait. He will be there in a year or two when Connor Griffin and Walker Jenkins and the like take off. But I think he just has to keep biding his time like he's been doing, and continue to decline my crazy Connor Griffin offers. He just needs to keep holding.
I mean, listen, if he wants to break that glass in case of an emergency and trade Connor Griffin for Graydon's entire team, then maybe he could make the wild card. But yeah, I mean, like in talking to him too, like he's trying to build a foundation, and that foundation is Zach Neto, and it's Connor Griffin, and it's Walker Jenkins, and it's coming. And really until then, there's I don't want to say no point in fielding the team, but I definitely don't think there's any sort of real playoff ambition.
I will say though, at least for Perry, I think I would have him in the wild card conversation if he was in conference too. I think that's
the wild card conversation in conference too, and she's
sure
been for a long time.
Well, we started out by saying Vinny's not, so that's a little sad. But I think that's not that. Just to say that's not to shit on Perry's team. I think that's firmly just of the reality that Adam, Jack, and Sean are in his conference. But I think if you swap Ben and Perry, I would think that Perry's firmly in the conversation for wild card in the conference too.
Yeah, I agree.
One of 3 teams who didn't make a move today, Perry, Max, and JD being those 3 teams. Perry also coming off a year where he made no moves last year. The only team to not make a trade last year. And we saw JD active yesterday. So, Adam, very curious if people are just so scared off by your success that they're just willing to bide their time and not be aggressive at all. But it all goes back to Altuve for me. Why has Altuve not been moved? It's the one thing that just doesn't make any sense. Let's talk about Jack for one moment.
I was about to say, we can't just go this whole podcast and not talk about it.
Yeah. So net in today is reliever Matt Brash and PCA and Austin Riley and Brent Rooker. Net out, he loses.
And Sonny Gray and Alfredo Duno.
Sorry, yes, Sonny Gray as well. I'm not counting Duno because he's not going to be up this year, I don't think. Just talking about net in terms of active roster. So again, that's Matt Brash in, that is Austin Riley, PCA, Sonny Gray, and Brent Rooker. He loses Jose Ramirez, who's I think the biggest piece here in terms of everything. He also loses Sandy Alcantara and Addison Barger and Christian Walker. That feels like the relevant pieces. So the big piece he loses, he gets a couple of really, really good second tier pieces in the door. And he loses Sandy, but he's a pitching factory. So I don't think anyone is really worried that Jack's not going to be able to find a replacement for him. So Adam, you're the prime contender against Jack here in his conference. What are your thoughts? Are you more scared of Jack without Jose or less scared?
More. I mean, I was sitting with him yesterday. I think it's a great deal for his team. I'm also the head pastor of the Church of PCA at this point in time, it feels like. So that definitely colors some things. It's a risky trade. There's like a real chance that in 6 months, Austin Riley is hurt and underperforming again, and PCA is still hitting 150 versus lefties and is totally platooned and like starts losing playing time because of it. And is like a triple negative in OBP. So
sorry, real quick. I'm a PCA hater, but I just want to say it feels like the Cubs are the favorites to win the division. There's a realistic chance, even if it won the platoon risk, even in games where he isn't platooning and he is playing, like if he is going to run a 260 OBP, he's not going to hit at the top of that lineup. They're going to move him down to eighth or ninth.
yeah, I mean, I think they might want to push him up like a little bit in like for his power, probably against righties. But I mean, like the thing about PCA that is, like fantasy wise, he's like him and Tovar are like the biggest like pieces where like defense actually does count in fantasy baseball for some guys. And it's in ways that like it just locks in hitters that like have tools but like can't necessarily really hit for playing time when they wouldn't have it otherwise. Like the Cubs are just not going to take him out of center field. What are they going to throw like Chas McCormick in there? Like it's just not happening. So like even though he's bad and struggling, like if as long as he's playing, he's going to acquire those numbers. And like he's better in roto than he is in head to head because like he goes really hot, he goes really cold. I'm very confident that at the end of the year, his stat line will look pretty good. But that like might come with a couple of games that he just sort of like loses for you. But he's a good piece. I think he's going to play a lot. Austin Riley, another similar thing, underperformed, but his batted ball metrics were good. But yeah, I mean, there's a chance that they both fall apart and he gets absolutely nothing for Jose Ramirez except Alfredo Duno and 5-BAM. And that really like sink or swim his entire roster. I know it's very obvious to say that like trading Jose Ramirez is like a big moment for his franchise, but like it really like this needs to work. I don't know, Drew. You're in his division. How do you feel? And you were negative on it earlier. You both were negative on it earlier. Please talk.
I didn't like Graydon acquiring Austin Riley. I've never been a fan of Austin Riley. I think he was bad when he came up. Then he was in his absolute prime of his career, peak athletic ability at that time for him, and he was able to pull just enough juice from those raw skills to put together some respectable seasons. But everything on the Braves feels wrong right now, and he feels like he is a prime candidate to, once he starts to hit that athletic cliff, it's just all downhill. I'm out on Austin Riley. I am clearly out on PCA, and I think there is, if not playing time risk, a risk. The counting stats go way down as he gets moved down in the order. He gets less plate appearances and at bats. So I don't like that trade at all. And Jose Ramirez is the heart and soul of that team. Well, kind of J-Rod, but like Jose's a big part of what Jack wants to do. The amount of times where he's put together 16 RBI matchups against me is crazy. I personally like what has happened to Jack since I'll just say this, and maybe I'm just a prime hater. I was never looking to acquire Brent Rooker from Ben. I was immediately looking to flip him to someone else. And I think that's because Brent Rooker was a journeyman until just a year and a half ago. And if he's a product of that ballpark and he's going to continue to play in that ballpark, that's fine. I also easily buy that Brent Rooker just had 2 career years in a row and just as easily may revert back to a journeyman who's low-key kind of droppable. It feels a little bit like a Taylor Ward package. So like I feel like saying 2 career years in a row is like kind of disproves that statement. No, I get it's a weird thing to say, but I feels like he might be quick to revert back to a journeyman. Like he wasn't a hyped prospect, a weird profile. It feels bumped up by the ballpark a little bit. I just don't love Brent Rooker, and like,
I mean, everything under the hood is absolutely magnificent.
where was it
Oh, if
years
it's
ago?
the ballpark that bumps it up, he's playing in that ballpark again.
Where was it 2 years ago? Why did no one talk about Brent Rooker until 2 years ago?
The guys are allowed to break out a late breakout. My only real, I wouldn't say gripe about the Rooker deal for Jack is not that I don't think Brent Rooker is great. I think especially in these OBP formats, I think he's like a fantastic asset. Definitely in like the Schwarber sort of mold. Like it's just more of what he's already good at. Like I don't know if his model is different than Bean's model or these public models or whatever, but like we've had him as like the number one homers and RBI team for like a while now, like even before these trades. And like I get you know, the PCA, Riley, like you need to do that for Jose Ramirez, but going out and getting assets for Rooker, I totally understand he thinks it's a good deal value wise, but like it just doesn't make him any better in like any sort of measurable way. Like he's already the best. He's just like putting distance between people. It's inefficient, I think, in my eyes more than anything.
Maybe it allows them to trade Judge. I don't know if that's all like posturing. If you like actually like if a Judge deal, like if there's a team out there who would offer what he would want for Judge, but like maybe it just allows him to do that.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit itchy about how old his guys are to some extent. I mean, I think that's definitely a concern and why J-Ram was moved. I mean, he's going to be like 34 this year. And like, you're really going to rely on a guy to steal 40 bags at the age of 34? Like, even like, he's done it before, but at some point it's going to stop. And at that point, you can't trade him for the package you just traded him for. And like, if you told me this season that Jose Ramirez went like, sorry, Graydon, if you told me that he went like 25-25 this year, like, I don't think I'd really flinch at that.
I think that the Rooker deal was like, I mean, I think Jack crushed that. Like, he's so good at starting pitching to be able to trade a pitcher who had a 5.3 ERA last year, Addison Barger, and like a pretty bad catching prospect for Brent Rooker.
Yeah.
An anonymous owner texted me and said, "Can't believe how easily Jack acquired Rooker. I need a special ringtone for Drew. Can't miss those calls." That's one input from an anonymous FTN owner. I think maybe he's not like crazy more valuable than like the package, but like for Jack, given how deep he is at pitching, yeah, it just like makes his offense even better. I think it provides stability for those PCA weeks where PCA is just going to kill you. Yeah, I mean,
just
like Adam said.
I was just going to throw it like to back you up a little bit. Like, again, hate to be projections guy, but like, if you want to use, I'm just have ATC up here because it's just like very conservative. So I feel like if we're not going to like hot take it, this has Brent Rooker projected to be the number 17 overall hitter in our format. And like that's above Ellie, that's above Ketel Marte, that's above Pete Alonso, and like it's above Devers. Like none of these guys are getting traded for Andy Alcantara, a pitching prospect, or a Harry Ford and Addison Barker.
Yeah.
Like it's just not like it's just a great deal. I think if it fell in his lap, I could see him. Like, obviously he was going to take it. I just don't really see what it does for him.
You guys, this is a classic case of you guys just coasting to the finish line in the regular season and not paying attention after the All-Star break because you guys had your seasons wrapped up by that point. Brent Rooker had a 300 OBP after the All-Star break. He was not good. Like, he's a 31-year-old journeyman who broke out at 29 years old. The dream is maybe over. Like, I don't see it. And Sandy, Alcantara, on the other hand, who's a year younger than Brett Rooker with a longer track record, was fantastic after the All-Star break, which totally fits the narrative of he was just getting the rust off and getting back into a pitching rhythm after a year out from injury. Barger's on the up and up, totally broke out in the playoffs. His StatCast page it's bright red. Like, I love this trade. For me, it very well could backfire. Like, it could totally backfire. I traded 60 BAM for Zach Eflin this year, and this could be me acquiring Eflin with Alcantara all over again, and it would shock absolutely nobody. Just trying to hedge it a little bit more with that Barger value at a position of need for me. It takes away from Jack. I think Barger could have been big for Jack as well. I don't care about Harry Ford, but we're moving to a 2-catcher league next year. He's for sure going to be the starting catcher for the Nats, because who else is going to be the starting catcher? That's easy value. It's 15 stolen bases with horrible stats everywhere else, but it's at the catcher position. It is what it is.
I was pretty excited when I saw that you acquired Rooker, because I was like, wow, like
That's kind of
for the 3 minutes that he was on your team, I was like, wow, I kind of love this, because one, I thought that you got a great deal with Bean, and I was like, this is like what that makes sense. I was like this is a Drew trade that makes sense. Like, you have a limp dick outfield, which I thought you were going to buoy with like this consistent, like, good. I mean, you have good OBP, but like this consistent, like big power bat from Rooker. So that's my only take on it. I was like excited when I thought that was the end of this trade tree.
To be fair, and I'll share my screen with it. My personal model I built prefers me having never made the trade with Jack. My model says me stopping with Rooker was the best, and significantly losing when I make the trade with Jack. So, like, I mean, there is support for that. I just feel like the timeline of acquiring Barger and Ford and Sandy fits better than just trying to hedge on one season of Rooker, because he's going to lose outfield eligibility after this year anyway. Be DH only.
It's a good thing we have two.
Maybe, yeah. I just wanted to go back to the J-Ram trade real quick. All I wanted to say was I do think it's going to be like pretty – I feel like looking back at this at the end of the season is going to be like – it's going to – this trade – I mean, this is like obvious, but this is going to say a lot. I was just after like July and August of last year, I was pretty broken with like – I think Ellie had like one home run from like June 24th on, and PCA had, I think he had an entire month where he didn't put up a counting stat. So I was just like, from my perspective, I'm just like pretty desperate for some consistency. And I know that, like, at least from what I've seen, I know that like Riley's like underlying metrics look really good, and I think that I've seen a lot of people who have him as like a pretty popular, like bounce back, like come back to form candidate. I was just sort of worried that like one more injury from Riley and like I can't trade him for anything near this. Like I was in talks with Perry in a trade involving like Riley for Max Fried and a prospect, for example. And I was just like kind of worried that like
a great trade.
one more injury season and like I can't trade Riley for anything like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm like, it's obviously like a little bit worrisome that J-Ram is, I think he's like 33 and a half right now. But like, I feel like my division is open for the taking and up for grabs. And I'm just like pretty annoyed with the like sort of collapse at the end of the year because I have like a super volatile team, and I just wanted to try switching out that volatility for some older consistency.
Like at some point there is value in just like getting the best player in the deal. Like you can pat yourself on the back and be like, there were 1,500 moves today and yesterday, which is funny that we're pretending that yesterday just didn't exist. There were also like 5 trades. I don't know, like it's funny to talk about it at this point. So like you can definitely bank on that. But like Austin Riley had his highest barrel rate of his career last year, and he has 30 home run seasons under his belt.
He was really good before he got injured.
Yeah,
Like he was on pace for like a 35 home run season, I think, before he got injured.
Maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about.
what?
With Austin Riley. Let's move to Ulrich because I haven't really talked about him. Let's
We're an hour in.
We're an hour in, and Ryan's had an interesting offseason. If I just name the acquisitions, put yourself if like JD or Adam or Jack made these acquisitions, we'd be talking about this team is unbeatable. They're going to win the championship. Like they're like Dodgers level acquisitions this offseason. Ryan has acquired this offseason Christian Yelich, Austin Wells, Chris Bubich, Michael King.
Wait, he traded Christian Yelich to me.
Who'd he get? Ezekiel Tovar and
Sonny. Yeah.
Sorry, let me say that again. He acquired Ezekiel Tovar and Sonny Gray, Chris Bubich, Austin Wells, Michael King, Cody Bellinger, and Christian Walker, and a smattering of other pieces. He gave up Otto Lopez, Matt McLean, and Christian Yelich.
Bunch of prospects.
Yeah.
Bunch of BAM.
He's given up a lot of. I think he's given up a lot of BAM too.
Oh, he gave up Sonny Gray too. So, okay, I guess the point is it's Bubich, Bellinger, Christian Walker, Tovar, and Michael King. And so a couple of mid to high tier starting pitchers, Austin Wells, Cody Bellinger, like those are big moves for a team that is sitting middle of the pack and trying to climb to put themselves in a prime spot to make the playoffs. Like, Adam, who's your pick for Division 3?
Show me Jacob Shore, baby. Show me Shore. In all seriousness, yeah, probably him. He does devil magic, and his team's still pretty good. I buy it. I would say that Graydon and Ryan's teams are probably better, but I just trust him.
You know what's amazing is how many trades Division 3 is willing to do with each other. No, I find it impossible to trade.
That's because none of us are like that scared of the other people in the division. We all know we're all like kind of got mediocre rosters. It's not like if I'm you and I'm in Jack's division, I'm worried about giving Jack a player that's I feel like we all know that no matter what trade we do with each other, all of these matchups are still kind of 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely been fun to sort of watch this arms race, and Graydon, I'd be interested in hearing like if you would have made the moves. I think you probably would have done the J-Ram move regardless, but if you would have made the other moves that you've made, if Ryan had not had the offseason that he had, but more than anything, they're like legitimizing moves. Like he has, these are like real players doing like real things. They're not gimmicky. They're not like breakout picks. They're not like young flash in the pan. Like these are bankable production, like real vets. So it's been fun to watch. I'm upset about the Michael King trade. That just sort of fell in his lap for no reason, and out of nowhere. I
thought that was a really good trade for him. I love that for him.
He put who'd he put? He put he put Aiden Miller on the block. And like 3 minutes later, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm accepting a trade for Michael King from JD. Doesn't involve Aiden Miller." Like, how does that happen? What was JD doing? So just nice pieces. He's still obviously a couple of guys away from like being like a real team, but it steps in the right direction and it's fun to watch.
I'm curious. Like, I actually like my moves were not really tied to Ryan that much. It was more so just like annoyance, I would say, that motivated me with how my team finished the season. But boy, Ryan's team just seems like it's gonna be so volatile, like kind of how mine was last year. Like his team has got horrible OBPs, which I feel like just leads to that volatility. Like Austin Wells, Cedon Rafaela, Gino.
O'Neal,
He's O'Neal Cruz, Hunter Goodman.
Byron Buck.
Ezekiel Tovar. Like, it seems like it's going to be so volatile. I'm sort of interested in his strategy because actually after my trade today, I reached back out to him because I was like, hey, you've got like a plethora of like extra hitters here, like specifically some of these outfield guys. Would you trade one of them? And he seems to, because he's got like 5 hitters on the bench right now, which I feel like is sort of not maybe a typical FTN or fantasy baseball strategy where you'd rather would use those bench spots on pitchers. But he was like, no, I mean, some of these guys are injury prone, and I want to have good hitters to put into the lineup when some of these guys inevitably get injured. So it'll be interesting to see like if he's able to like maybe maintain a strong offense and matchups maybe where his opponent has some injured hitters because he has some guys he can put into the lineup. But I sort of just think that he's going to struggle with. He's got like 5 starting pitchers on the roster plus Shane McClanahan, who's kind of like maybe you say that's 5.5 right now. Like who knows what he's going to be, or like how many innings he's actually going to pitch. Which, like I said in the group meet to Jack, like I got to imagine that's why Ryan's so low in the projections. And I know that he's like every time I reach out to him, he's like, yeah, looking for starting pitching. So like he's aware of it and clearly trying to address it.
And that's why he traded Sonny Gray. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I guess he just felt like he had an even bigger corner infield need.
He's got a lot of pitching prospects, but they're probably all next year guys like Tink Hentz, Hagen Smith, Gage Jump, Cade Anderson, all feel like next year guys. He doesn't really want to rely on Dolander this year, who would be like his one off-roster pitcher. But he's got Skeens. How many wins does Skeens give you alone when I feel like that if you're going to do a small pitching strategy, like there's not much better than starting your week with a Paul Skeens gym and then trying to cheese ERA and whip right at 30 innings pitched or whatever the threshold is these days. I mean, it's harder than ever to cheese, but like Ryan has the blueprint for doing so, it feels like. And every single win matters in Division 3. This isn't like Adam needs to go out and cheese wins. He's going to win his division by 50 games. Ryan's got to cheese every win he can get, I feel like, because every team's got to do that.
It just feels like that's not like a viable strategy. Like that's just like, yeah, you can, if Paul Skeens like pitches on a Monday or a Tuesday, like, yeah, you can bank on that. But then like, who's to say that there isn't a David Peterson like blow up in there? Like you kind of just got to like hope that you get like a couple of like your first 3 or 4 performances are like really good. And then you can just like get the remaining innings with relief pitchers. But like, how long ago was it that they did the FTN raise the inning pitch limit?
We've done it twice. We did it after the first season when cheesing was a huge part of the playoffs. And then we did it another year because
it was 2 years.
Cheesing was still an issue. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I felt like maybe you did it when I, like, right around when I joined the league, like 2 years ago. But yeah, it feels like that's like not a viable strategy. Like you're basically just like banking on getting lucky. So
I'm not saying it's like an every week strategy, but if the difference in the division is going to be as close as it was the last few years, like 5-6 games, and cheesing becomes a viable option because of Ryan's pitching setup 2 times, it's an extra 1 or 2 wins. I don't know. I just think it's something to consider. I think if you're going to run a small pitching staff, Paul Skeens is the perfect pitcher to start with that.
Yeah, you just have to be really, really, and I've said it for years, so not to belabor my point again, but like you have to be really, really confident in your offense to go cheese. Especially like as you just said, Drew, that like every win counts. You're in a tight division race. You're in a tight wild card race. Like you can't like when you cheese, you have like a good possibility of winning two categories, ERA and WHIP. You like probably win saves, but like again, that's roster construction. But you like absolutely have no chance of winning wins in Ks. So like it's probably an even trade-off. And over the course of the season, like, those two wins, those two categories add up. And God forbid you lose ERA and WHIP every now and then. Like you can't catch up. Like he needs pitching. This can't.
He also like he's had Skeens for 2 years now, and he's had a starting pitcher deficiency, and like he hasn't really been one to cheese. Like this is where I thought Adam was going with that. Like I thought Adam was going to say that like you have to be like really careful and like methodical and sort of like analytical about like who you start. But like this is the guy who's like, Patrick Corbin against the Phillies just fucked me. Like I don't like Ryan hasn't like shown any sort of like proclivity to like just banking on the Paul Skeens start and like doing this cheese. Like Ryan has shown us like he's just gonna stream waiver wire SBs to make up for his deficiency and just like
see what happens.
Kind of see what happens.
Gotta be able to evolve. On the other end of this division is the guy who's won 2 times in a row. He's going to be underrated for a 3rd straight year. Although this year, you can craft the narrative that once again, I mean, he is not out here making seemingly win now moves. He's trading away Chris Bubich, trading away Cody Bellinger, trading away Bryson Stott. He acquired Shota Imanaga only to trade him away. Granted, he got Joe Ryan, but then he traded away Taylor Ward. He traded away Kerry Carpenter and Mitch Keller. And a lot of what he got back were prospects. So where are we on Jacob? Graydon, like I asked Adam who's going to win the division. We've talked about all 3 teams now. Like, what's your take on Division 3 this year?
I think on paper, I have the best team, but I don't see how after the past 2 years, Jacob isn't the favorite.
Look at us,
like his team
be baited into underrating Jacob again. We will.
You can't do it anymore. Like he's very good at what he does. Like, and maybe some of it's like devil magic, but like he's also just like very good at paying attention to who's got a 2-start week, who's got a favorable matchup, and playing the right pitchers, which is like obviously something that I struggle at because I'm always like, fuck it, let's just throw them and hope that it goes well, which like usually it doesn't. But he's got a really good farm. He's got 100 BAM. He's got prospects that are going to help him this year. Nolan McLean, Carter Jensen, Aiden Miller. I assume that Colt Emerson will be up at some point this year. He's now got like 2 studs to anchor his rotation, and Joe Ryan and Hunter Brown. And he's like, part of the reason he can make some of those moves is because he kind of just had an embarrassment of riches maybe embarrassment of riches isn't the right word. Maybe it's like an embarrassment of like solids with like some of his outfielders. But like you look at his roster and he's still got Machado. He's still got Seager. Obviously it looks like not as great right now because Westberg and Holiday are injured. But yeah, I mean, I don't really see any reason why like Jacobs. I feel like going into this year, this is the best team Jacobs ever had, compared to like preseason last year and preseason when we joined the league. So I don't see like any reason why people shouldn't be high on him.
Because he's not approaching it like win now. He's making these trades that just don't make a ton of sense.
Well, what's not win now? Like the Cody Bellinger trade?
Trading Cody Bellinger for Aiden Miller.
Ugh.
But like Aiden Miller's going to play a bunch this year. And currently he's starting Chase Mydroth at his middle infield, and he's got Canzone on the bench right now, who like I know a lot of people are like pretty high on going into this year. So like Aiden Miller has a lot of hype. Like I don't view that as like a non-win now move. Like, yeah, surely at the end of the year, like Bellinger's going to be higher on the player rating, but like it's conceivable that like Aiden Miller plays early and has like a very good year.
He's trading Chris Bubich for Matt McLean and Bam.
That's
I'd rather
not
have Bubich.
trade. That one I can't really excuse. The rest,
Carpenter.
Yeah, I don't know if that was just because of Jackson Holiday. Because like, yeah, right now the only other second base on his roster is who I just said, Chase Mydroth.
Yeah, but Graydon,
So
he traded Bryson Stott today too, another middle infielder.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I kind of think Bryson Stott's like sort of like a whatever. I don't know.
And he traded Kerry Carpenter, Mitch Keller for prospects and Bam today. Like,
Well, as some on this anonymous owners on this call have said, that's pitching slop and a platoon bat.
anonymous. We really
Right.
pride ourselves on our anonymity in FTN.
I want to hear Adam's thoughts on Jacob as well, and on everything Graydon just said. I'll just one quick note: like Jacob seems to be really good at streaming batters, and it makes me very jealous because I'm in a position where I have to face Sean, Jack, and Adam very often throughout the year. My matchup acquisitions pretty much need to go towards pitching. When you're Jacob and you go against those guys once a year and JD twice, and then you get to play Ben, Vinny, Ryan, and Graydon twice, you can afford to use your matchup acquisitions to stream. And he's very good at it. So I think that's part of what's made him such a good manager these first few years is he's not just streamed the pitchers well. And I'd actually argue he doesn't even really seem to stream the pitchers that well. It's the whole package. He's just very good with his matchup acquisitions. I just want to throw that out there. But Adam, I want to hear your thoughts on the trades Jacob made today.
I think that he sort of gave us the blueprint last year, and that comes in sort of weak. Maybe, stocking up on some future assets, staying flexible, and then just sort of seeing how things play out in the first couple months. And maybe he's in the thick of it and then he can push the chips back in again. And I think he's very comfortable. I wouldn't say being uncomfortable, but he can make win now moves if he wanted to. He has the pieces. He has a great farm. He has a ton of BAM. And if he's out of it, I think he's totally fine as well to hang back and just get him next year, run it all over again. We always talk about in sports, I feel like that when teams have two timelines, they never really succeed in either of them. So the sort of we really crave this binary of you need to win now or you need to rebuild. So we'll be interested to see if he's able to sort of thread that needle. It definitely comes in when he's going to be relying on rookies and prospects to contribute this year, and that's often just not something you can really rely on. But I think he's gonna see how things progress. And if the guys get playing time that need to get playing time, and he's in the thick of it, and by the trade deadline, I fully expect him to make another couple big moves at it.
Holiday and Westbrook hurt him, but he's in Division 3. No one's gonna be out of it come June. We're all gonna be in the thick of things. So I think he has a pretty good strategy of in the preseason, people are optimistic about their teams and they're willing, like me right now, I'm willing to sell some prospects for talent that can help me right now, and he's good at taking advantage of that. And then kind of come the trade deadline, when he's looks up and he's in first place by a couple of games, and he's like, oh well, I can trade some of these prospects that I acquired in the preseason to teams who are maybe looking to sell at the trade deadline, and that's how he ends up with Machado. So I think that he's like Adam said, he's pretty good at navigating that blueprint. Also, he very well might now have the best pitchers in the division. Hunter Brown and Joe Ryan are both extremely good. I think Trevor Rogers, Matthew Boyd, G-Rod, all have the potential to be pretty good fantasy pitchers. I'm not exactly sure when Rodon is supposed to come back, but when he pitches, and I guess this is assuming health, but when he pitches, he's been pretty good. So it's certainly conceivable that he also now has the best rotation in Division III, which was certainly not the case for the prior 2 years, I don't think, and probably wasn't the case before today, at least based on Drew's starting pitching rankings,
which are notably reputable.
People look forward to him. There was a call out. An anonymous FTN owner asked in the group chat for an update on them. So
we love our content.
I think the past couple versions have been pretty reasonable.
Let's get to wrapping up here. I think we've touched on most of the key storylines. Obviously, plenty more podcasts to do in the future. FTN, the off season or the spring training, preseason, everything's going to be picking up in pace here. The final question from the audience was they wanted from this panel one winner and one loser of the offseason so far. I want each of your guys' 2 takes. I'll be brief with mine because I've been thinking about it, so I'll give you guys a second to think about it. My loser of the offseason so far, I gotta say, I think it's Ben, because exclusively because of the trade he made today was just doesn't make sense in the context of his team. And I honestly think it brings him so far back in the pack that I think it costs him a chance at the wild card this year. He wasn't going to be competing for pitching anyway, and now he ditches Brent Rooker. And not I've talked about my hate for Brent Rooker, but it's a big piece for his team. So I think he's a clear loser for me. My winner, I really like Ryan's moves that he made. It hurts me to say that he's a winner. The one asterisk I want to give, or the one special star, is I think Sean has made some savvy moves. The problem is it's the moves he didn't make and the moves that he had no control over. It's hard to call him a winner given the Pablo Lopez injury so far. But for the actual moves he's made, I think he's got really good value for the trades that he made. So I like Sean's offseason. Adam, I'll start with you. Winner and loser from the offseason so far.
I will go with the loser. I will go probably, there are a couple of cop-outs, and I'll just qualify this, and that it's just that they're here because they haven't really done much in Max and Perry. Not that there was a ton to do, but I think certainly people are a little feverish about things right now, and I think there are deals to be made, and I think they could have made some moves to improve their teams, and they did not. So sort of by default, the losers for me. Winner, I don't want to say Ryan as well. I'll go Graydon here. I think one, a team level, I think getting the best player that's been moved in the offseason is a big deal. But 2, also on a mental health level, I'm so happy for you. I know I know how hard it can be to watch your team just go 0 for on a day, and it's very easy to look at season wide predictions and projections now and be look at all these players, look at all these stats, they're so good, but to make moves not only to win but to feel better about yourself even when you're maybe not winning, I'm very proud of you and happy for you.
Thanks. I would say my loser is Vinny, just because I just don't understand the trade that he made today. I just don't understand it, but maybe there's something more at play there. I think winner is Jack. Like I said earlier, I really like the Rooker deal, and I feel like his team is built to built extremely well to withstand the PCA like dud weeks, to the point where like those weeks where like PCA, like, you know, I guess maybe PCA in combination with LA like just single-handedly lost me the week. Like, I don't necessarily know if like PCA will lose Jack any weeks, because he's got Cal Raleigh and he's got Brent Rooker and he's got J Rod and he's got Aaron Judge. So I yeah, I like the sort of like roster building. Like, he gets younger, and I think that he's got a really good team that can withstand PCA. And you also like get the chance that, you know, PCA puts up another, you know, really good season numbers wise at the end of the season, a healthy season from Austin Riley. He gets rid of a 5.36 ERA pitcher, adds Brent Rooker. So yeah, Jack's my winner from the offseason.
Context is everything. Before we wrap it up here, Adam, I know you got drinks with some league members. How was that?
It was, I mean, it feels like it started this. It didn't quite start this. It started with me texting Jacob that I wanted Bryson Stott, and somehow the entire fucking world blew up. But, you know, 2 FTN guys in a room is dangerous enough. But 3 for, I mean, we were supposed to go get lunch. We sat down at noon. I got back at 5:30. Like, we had a lot to do, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Can I ask a question about this trade tree real quick? So like in regards to Shota, like, was maybe Drew, maybe since you're like sort of in the middle of this, maybe you're the best one to answer, but like, was everybody like, okay, like, I'll take Shota, but it's like contingent on me trading into someone else? Like, was it really the case that like literally no one wanted him? Because like I was talking to Adam about Shota, like I would have traded for him, but like, was it the case of like, is that why this trade tree was so long? Because it was like, okay, I'll take Shota in that deal, but I got to find someone else to trade him to.
Yeah, I kind of texted you about it a little earlier. Adam and I actually had some brief conversations about Shota. For me, this really started when I published those starting pitcher rankings, and I think Shota was my biggest miss on that list, because I think I had him at like SP 17, and when Adam
15
had a joking comment about it and I looked into it more, I'm like, oh damn, like that's just a big miss on my part. And then I heard from Jacob that he was acquiring Imanaga and wanted to know if I was interested. But what I was mostly interested in were the other pieces that he was offering. And then I was kind of scared off by some stuff on Joe Ryan, but Jacob really liked Joe Ryan. And I'm like, there's something here. But I'm like, I don't want to end up with Shota on my team. So what can I do with Shota?
Poor guy.
And then I really wanted Ryan Pepio, but then everyone apparently texted Ben about Ryan Pepio last week. And so Ben is like, clearly I'm out of the loop here. And so I'm not trading Pepio at all now. He ultimately asked for 75 BAM plus Shota for Pepio. And I'm like, well, so we backed off that. And then we talked about Rooker, and he wanted some prospects. And then there's some more back and forth. And then I heard from Ben that Jack was shopping Sandy. And I'm like, well, how do I get Sandy? Because that's who I ultimately want to replace Joe Ryan with, more than Shota, more than Pepio. And one thing just led to another. I end up with Sandy. Rooker goes to Jack, and we had to get everyone to agree to trades to get Shota moved like 4 times. And there were some other deals on the side that other people were waiting on to like agree to stuff too. So that's why we got, I don't know, 12 trades in 24 hours. It was crazy.
There was some real times last night where I was like, I don't really need to do this. But then at that point, it was like, Jacob had just texted me that like, this isn't going to get done tonight, but it's going to get done. There are 8 teams involved. And I was like, well, I can't ruin this for everyone. So, you know, we do what we can for the content. Happy everyone's happy.
One final thing, shout out to Ellie, Graydon's dog. It's her 3rd birthday today. Is that correct?
Yeah, like yesterday, I think.
All right. Happy birthday to Ellie. We love to see that. We need more dog pics in the group chat. I know quite a few people have pets at home. Would love to see more pet pics. But yeah, Adam, glad you got to hang out with everyone. It seems like every year more and more people are finding themselves in like each other's cities and hanging out. It's really awesome to see. Last thing, stay safe, stay warm if you're on the East Coast. I know things are crazy there right now. I'm shocked you even have internet connection to do this right now, Adam, if I'm being 100% honest with you.
We got 0 inches of snow here in Washington, D.C., so maybe 1.
You know, down here in Texas, I'm just honestly not paying too close attention to it. So we're feeling good down here. All right, Adam, looks like you got to go too. We'll wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for joining. We'll see you all next time on the FTN Pod.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam.